This is part 3 of God teaching me about blacks and making me aware of some of the prejudices and maybe helping me overcome them. Well, as I said in part 2, Sergeant Mims that I worked under at Letterman Army Hospital was a very fine sergeant, a very fine boss, a very fine man. Absolutely nothing wrong with the guy. Everything was right, very right, and yet here I had to admit I'd worried about, hey, something's not right here, because that old thing that somebody had planted, that an educated Negro, an educated black, the worst kind, they're smart alecks. Boy, there was nothing smart aleck or rude in any way about Sergeant Mims. And God may have put him there to help me, because guess what? Those of us that had gotten college degrees between service hitches were advised that if we wanted to, we could file to see if we would be selected to go before a review board to become officers. Well, I'd been half mad to get discharged into the reserves as a sergeant, get recalled as a corporal. I didn't do anything. I didn't get busted. Uncle Sam Benchinsey reduced you one rank in grade before or as you were recalled. I think I got paid in reserves as a sergeant. Well, it wasn't a happy thought to note that a lot of the rich kids from Enid joined the 325th because we had vacant spots, and to bring us up to full complement or closer to full complement, a lot of them enlisted. And they were good kids, fine people. But you could also see the politics of it might be pretty hard to get even the sergeant stripe back, let alone more. So you bet. Tom Wood, myself, a couple of the other men, we applied, and I went before a board. Here's 5 officers up there, a major in the middle, flanked on his left and right by a captain, and a lieutenant on each of the extreme ends of these tables that they had up front. You're sitting back there alone, and they are asking you the questions, and the major starts right out and says, "Young man, if we commission you as an officer to gentlemen and send you to the South, and you check in late one evening, you're assigned a billet in the officers' quarters, and you get to your room and there's a black man there. What do you think about that?" Well, I thought it was a dumb question, but I didn't tell him that. I said, well, if my roommate takes a shower every day, I could care less what color he is. Thanks to Sergeant Mims, I could honestly say that. And this is way before all this business of politically correct talk, although I guess the Lord helped me to have the politically correct talk here. The other 4 people asked questions you'd expect to be asked in reviewing a young man to see if you wanted to let him become an officer. Got back to that major and he said, "Hey, your wife's on base, his isn't. You're at the officers club and he asked your wife to dance. What do you think about that?" Well, that was easy. My wife's a very independent woman. Was as a kid, still is after 60 years. I said, "Sir, you don't know my wife." But she'd say yes or no, and I wouldn't have anything to say about it. I think he believed me. The others asked their questions again, and he comes back that 3rd time. He asked another related question, and then he said, "Forget it. Don't even answer. I know what you're going to say." I got to be an officer. And here, the chief officer reviewing me, his concern is this boy is a Southerner. I suppose I've got a Southern accent. Born in Oklahoma, graduated from an Oklahoma high school, served in a segregated army. I didn't appreciate what he did, but as I've gotten older, I have to say I understand where he was coming from. Well, they sent Tom Wood and myself directly and together, in Tom's car in fact, to Brooke Army Medical Hospital outside of San Antonio for Battalion Surgeon's Assistant School. We both did well, even though neither one of us had been medics in our earlier experience. He was in the Army Air Corps. I was in the infantry, even if I did end up being a clerk typist. we then were sent to Fort Bragg and given a talk. All you young fellows, there was about 10 or 15 of us, all you young officers, well, you need to know, we need jumping officers, and if you jump, we'll keep you stateside for at least a year. Hey, married, 2 kids, no desire to be in Korea, I'll jump. Tom said I was in the Air Force before, and I am not going to jump out of any airplanes. They can just ship me. When I looked and looked for housing, finally found some. Called my wife. Military came to pick up our belongings. I found, I was assigned to a company on the post. Seemed like they were sincere about their saying a year at least before they ship you overseas. Made a jump. My new battalion surgeon, my company commander, they jumped with me. Hey, nice fellas. And they laughed and said, yeah, we're not as nice as you think. A lot of you boys say you're going to jump again. You get up there and you don't go out the door. So one of us went in front of you to set an example, and the other one came behind if necessary to give you a push. Well, I made my jumps. Now I'm out of time for this time. Part 4 coming up.